Hi guys, hope you're doing good. In this video, we're going to learn about how to work with dates and time in Python. It is very important to know how to work with dates and time because we will be using it in most of our application that we are going to write. In Python, we have date, time, datetime, timezone, and timedelta. And it is very difficult to understand when should we use what. So let us go ahead and look into some example to understand this. The main module for working with dates in Python is DateTime module. Let me import that first at DateTime, and let me give an example for you. Let me see. If I want to find the date, I'll say my date, create a date. I'm sorry. If I'm going to create a date, I'll say DateTime dot date, and I'll be giving year, month, and day. So that is the format that I have to give. I'll say 2020. Let me say 1 and 1. Let me say print my date. Now here I'm creating a date of January 1st 2020. That is my new year, right? So let me run this code for you, and you can see I'm getting the date. And make sure that you're not giving 0 before these. If I'm going to give 0 before these things, the month or the day, I'll be getting an error. So make sure that you're giving only single digit for the single digit values. If it is double digit, yeah, go ahead and give the double digit values. That's no problem. Like for example, if I say 2019 December 25, yes, I can give like that. But if I'm going to give a single digit, make sure that don't give any leading zeros before it. Now let me run this code for you. You get 25/12/2019. Okay, now this is the date which I'm giving a custom date. Now if I want to give if I want to print the current date, today's date, let me say t date and then say date time dot date. I'll be using one more method called as today. Now this method today provides me the current date. Now let me say print t date. Let me run this code for you. Now this is the custom date that I've given in the variable called as my date, and this is the current date. Today's date is 14 of April 2020. Okay, now this is how I get the information, or this is how I provide a custom date. To provide the custom date, I'll be using a date method and give the date here, and if I want to get the current date, I'll be using a method called as today. Now let me give you one more example to find the day, month, and year separately. So when I say t date dot day, now this will provide me only the current day, today's date, that is 14, right? And if I want to find the current month, that is, I'll say t date, because like t date is holding the current date, so I can get the day, month, and year separately. So t day dot month, it's going to provide me 4, and if I say year, it's going to provide me 2020. Got it? And one more thing that I want to tell you, right? If I want to get the days of the week, for example, whether it is Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, like that, in number format, I'll be saying weekday. I'll be using a method called as weekday. This weekday method provides me the current day of the week. And one more method I have, that is ISO. Sorry, ISO. Now, what's the difference between weekday and ISO weekday? Let me execute this and show you. Now it's saying 1 and 2, right? So when I say weekday, this method will take 0 as Monday and goes through and saying 6 as Sunday. Wherein ISO weekday is not like that. ISO weekday is little different, like where it starts from 1 to goes till 7. Now in ISO weekday, Monday will be 1 and Sunday will be 7. Right? Since today is a Tuesday, it is providing me 1 when I say weekday and 2 for ISO weekday. Hope you got this, guys. Okay. Now let us look into time delta. Let me take this, is not required for me now. I'll remove this. Let me use the today's date alone, right? So time delta provides me the difference between two dates, right? If I want to find 4 days later or 4 days before, a week later or a week before, this time delta helps me in doing that, right? So let us see how to do it with an example. Let me say t delta, and I'll say date time dot time delta, and I'll be giving how many days difference that I require, right? So if I want a difference, days difference of 4 days, right? Let me say days assigned 4, and if I want to find 4 days from today, right? What is the fourth day from today? Let me say print, and then say t date, which holds the current date, and I'll say from 4 days from today, right? So let me run this code. We'll be getting 4 days from today, right? That is 18. Today is 14, and four days from today is 18. Now if I want 4 days before, right? 4 days before, I'll just say minus. So when I say minus, it will give me the days which is 4 days before today's date. Now let me print the current date so that you can understand it. Let me say t date, and this is my today's date. This is 4 days later, and this is 4 days before. This is 4 days later from today, that is 18, and today's date is 14, and 4 days before is 10. Got it? Yeah. Like this, we can get even the difference between 2 days, right? If I want to provide a day, like particular date, and from today's date, how many days was the difference, right? So if I add a time delta to a date, I'll be getting another date. You can see that I'm adding a time delta to a date, I'm getting a date. And if I add two dates, or if I subtract a date from another date, I'll be getting a time delta. That is the difference, right? So let me show you with an example. Let me say new year, that is, let me take this, let me give the new year today, this year's new year, that is 2020, comma 1, comma 1. Now if I want to find how many days since new year, right? So I'll just comment this out. This is not required for me now. The number of days from today, right, till the new year date. Since new year date, how many days are there? Let me say print, and I'll say t date minus new year, right? So when I do this, I'll be getting the number of days between these 2 days, that is 104 days. Now 104 days, and also it's giving the trying to give the time for you. If you think that it is not required for you, you can just say let me put it in a variable. I'll say till date, and I'll say print till date dot days. Now this will provide you only the days. It will not provide you the entire thing like the time difference, all those things, right? That's not required for me now. So if I want to find only the number of days, it's a 104. As of now, we have been seeing datetime.date. Now let us see datetime.time. In datetime.date, we have been using year, month, and day. Now in datetime.time, we'll be using hour, minute, second, and microsecond. Let us see those things with some example. Let me say my time, and then say datetime.time, and let me give 7, that is hour, 25 minutes, 45 seconds, and some microseconds. Now make sure that your microseconds is not going beyond 6 digit. That's a maximum, right? And let me try to print my time. When I run this code, you will be getting the time which I've given there. Now here it is 07. Make sure that you're not giving leading zeros. It is not required, right? Now as we have seen in datetime.date, right, we have taken the day separately, month separately. Like here also we can take the hour, minutes, and seconds separately. Let me say hour, and then run this code. You'll be getting the hour which is there in my time, that's 7 hours. And then if I want say minute, I'll be getting 25. And if I say second, I'll be getting 45. Now, this datetime dot date and datetime dot time, right? This is going to give only date and time separately. But like most of the time, we'll be working these things together, right? The date and the time together, right? Most often we'll be seeing using that only, right? So instead of doing this separately, let us go ahead and do get the date and time together. For that, we'll be using datetime dot datetime. Okay, let me see that. Let me say my date or my day, right, which has both date and time. So I'll be saying date time dot date time. Now here I can give year, month, and day, and followed by hour, minute, second, and microsecond. Let me print this for you. I'll say my day and run this code for you. Now you can see you got the date, that is year, month, and date, along with the time, right? So this is how I use datetime dot datetime to get all these things. Now here also I can separately get the date, month, year, hour, everything separately. Let me say like dot day. So this is going to provide me the day, that is 1, and if I want the hour, I can just say hour, that's going to provide me the hour, that is 7, right? So like this we can get separately, and we can also use the time delta here, right? I hope you remember the time delta what we have seen before. Let me say T delta assign datetime dot time delta, and then if I want like a week from now, right, a week from that particular days, right, so days assign 7. So when I say date assign 7, that will get the 7 days from today. Okay, so let me say print my day plus T delta. So that's going to provide me 7 days, that is a week later from today, a week later from that particular date. Sorry. So the date what I've given there is 1/1/2020. Week later will be 8/1/2020. The time also exactly uh, the same time, right? Because it's given there exactly 7 days from there. And if I want to know the week back, right, 7 days back, I can also get that with the help of time delta. Okay. Now let us see some other example that comes along with date time. If I want to find the current date, that's a today's date, I'll say datetime dot today. So this will provide me the current date along with the time, right? So let me copy this and paste it. For that, let me say today. I'll say today underscore now, and then one more method called as UTC now. I'll tell you what is the difference between these things. Let me try to print all those things so that you can understand the difference. Let me say tday and then say print tday underscore now, print tday underscore UTC. Let me run this code for you. You can see this this almost same, right? So the first two things, right, tday and tday underscore now are almost same, and there is a slight difference in UTC time, right? So it's because that I've given it as an UTC time, it's providing me the UTC time, not the local time, right? So this today and now always provides a local time, right? And UTC now will provide the UTC time. That's the reason you can see the time difference between the today, now, and UTC time, right? So but like what is the difference between today and now? There should be some difference, right? When I say today, it just gets me the current local time, but when I say now, it takes one argument, that is the time zone, right? So by default today the time zone is empty, right? I don't have any time zone, but like when I say now, I have something called as time zone. I can provide a time zone for that, and then I can get the information about a particular time zone. Let me see, let me show you those things with some example. As of now, I'll remove these things, it's not required for me. It's also not required. So to get the time zone, I'll be using a third-party module called as PyTZ, right? So let me say import PyTZ, right? If at all you don't have, if you're not installed PyTZ, I want you to go to your terminal and install the PyTZ module, because it's a third-party module. You need to say pip install pytz, right? So to install, you can use this command in your terminal. You can go ahead and use it, right? So after installing, you have to import pytz. You may ask me why I'm using a third-party module, right? Because Python itself recommends using this pytz module because it's a little bit easier than using the time zone time info, which is provided along with Python, right? So let us see how to use this time zone. So I'll say datetime.now, and inside I'll be providing tz assign pytz dot, let me get the UTC time, right? This is not the current local time. It will be providing you the UTC time, right? So let me run this code, and you can see the UTC time. It's not the current local time, it's the UTC time, right? My current local time is 8:58 a.m., but like this provides me the UTC time, that is 3:28 a.m. Now let us see how to convert a timestamp to a date or datetime object. Let me take this out, it's not required for me now. You may wonder what is timestamp. A timestamp is a number of seconds between a particular date, right? For example, I'm giving a today's date, between a particular date and January 1, 1970 at UTC, right? So that is what called as timestamp, and it will give in seconds, how many seconds the difference, right? So let me give an example now. Let me say my date, and then say datetime dot date dot from timestamp. Now let me give some number, some 10-digit number. And let me say print my date. Let me run this code. Now what's exactly happening is, from January 1, 1970, when I add these value, right, this will create a date and give you 14/2/2009, right? So here we are getting only date. If I want date time as well, I'll just say datetime.format. So this value, this many seconds will be added from January 1, 1970, and will provide the current added value, right? So let me give you this. So you can say 14 and 5 hours 1 minute and 30 seconds. Now this is what the added value. So this is how I get the timestamp, right? If I want to find a particular file, right, if I say a file is there, at the time of the file creation, the time of the file alter, or time of the file modification will be provided in the timestamp format only. It will not be given as a current date in Unix or Linux, or you can take even Macintosh, right? So that will be given in the timestamp format, and if I want to convert the timestamp to a date, I'll be using from timestamp method. Okay. Now let us see how to convert a date or a time object to a string, and string format to a date or time object. Now for that, Python provides us two methods. One is strf time and strp time. Now first let us see strf time method. Now strf time method creates a formatted string from a given date or time object. Now let us see how it works. Let me say t date, and then say datetime.now. This provides me the current current date and time. Let me say t date. Let me run this code for you, and you can see it's there in the normal date time format. It's the year, month, day, and then hour, minute, second, and microsecond. Now if I want to convert it to a uh, string format, right, in my format, in my own way, like which how I want to represent my time, I can do that. First let me create a time, and then we'll go for date. Let me say t date dot strf time, and then I'm going to give the format, in which format I want, right? So there are certain formats that I want to explain you. That is percentage H, capital H, that gives you hour, and the percentage M, that gives you minute, percentage S gives you second, minutes, seconds, and then percentage small s, that will give you microsecond. Now this is for time. There are a lot of other formats, but we cannot remember everything. I know that. You can go to the Python documents and you can find all those things. I'll say, like, I'll give the link in the description. You can go and find out, because it's very difficult to remember all the formats. Now for day, it is percentage D that will provide the day, and percentage small m will give you the month in number format, right? For example, like 1, 2, 3, like that, right? 1 for January, 2 for February, right? And then percentage uh, capital B will provide you the same month in like January, February, like that, like full names, right? And then you have percentage small b that provides you month in 3-character format, right? Is Jan, Feb, like that, right? And when I say percentage capital Y, that provides you YYYY, that is year in YYYY format, and then small y, that will provide you in YY format. Okay, these are the basic things that we use often. So I just want you to remember these things if possible, or else you can very well go and use the Python documentation to understand this. Let me comment this. Now, if I want to print or if I want to store my current date and time in this format, right? I'll say like percentage H. I want a colon in between. So I'll say percentage M, colon in between, percentage S. Now my date and time will be printed in this format which I've given here. So let me say print my time, right? So let me run this code for you. You can see that the time, that is 9:51 11 seconds, right? So that is given in this format. You can format it as a string. This is a string. This is not the exact time object, or this is just a string, right? So if I want to print in a particular date format, right? So let me say my date, and then say tdate dot strf time, and then I'll say if I want to print in d slash percentage m slash and percentage y, right? I want to print in 2 digits only, right? I'll say print my date, and then let me run this code. You can see the same date which is given here, like it is year, month, and day format. I've converted it to day, month, and year format. It depends on the countries, right? Some people will go for DDMMYY, some countries will go for MMDDYY, right? It depends on them, right? In which format you want, you can format it and give it to the user, right? And then if I want both things to be converted, right? Let me say my date time, and I'll say, let me copy this and put it here. I'll say tdate.str of time, and then continuously, and if I want the date, month, and year first, right? And let me copy and paste it here, and then put a comma to separate the time. And if I want my microseconds all to be printed, I'll put a dot and then say percentage smallest. Let me try to print this. I'll say my date time, right? So when I run this code, so you get, this is the actual date time object which is providing me in this year, month, day, hour, minutes, second, and microseconds format. And this is my own format, right? I'm converting it as a string and putting it in my own format. That is hour, minutes, seconds, DDMMYY. And if I want more thing, right? If I want 4 digits of year, I can just put capital Y there. Let me run this code for you. You can see 14/4/2020, and then the format which I've given here, right? So it's up to you to convert. It's like Python giving you a lot of privilege to do it, right? We can convert a datetime object to a string. Now let us see how to convert a date and time which is in string format to date format. To do this, we'll be using a method called as strp time, right? So strp time method creates a date time objects from a string format, right? So let me give a string format now. Let me say date str, and then I'll say 25th December 2019, right? So this is a string format with which gives me a user readable format, right? So let me say print and then say date str. Let me run this code. You can see 25th December 2019. Now if I want to convert this string to a date object, let me say date obj assign datetime dot datetime dot strp time. Now let me give the date object, sorry, date string, and then in which format it is given, right? So you can see it is in format like percentage d, that is a date, and followed by a comma. I need to replicate as it is, like whatever is given here I need to give those things in the same format. And if I say like December or the month fully, it's given there, the entire month information is given there, I'll see percentage capital B. If I say percentage small b, it is only mon, sorry, dec, jun, like that, right? So if it is December, January, February, it is given, then I need to give percentage capital B. And I can see this 4-digit year, so I need to give percentage capital Y. Okay. Now let me print this. I'll say date obj and then run this code. You can see it got converted to a exact date time object, right? Hope you understood this, guys. That's it for this video. If you have any doubts or queries, please do comment in the comment section, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for listening to this video, guys.